Imagine a killer so meticulous, so completely unhinged, that he doesn't just murder his victims. He turns their own worst habits into a gruesome work of art. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are breaking down the absolute masterpiece of psychological horror. We start by meeting our main duo. First, there's Detective Somerset. He's exactly 7 days away from retirement. He's tired, cynical, and desperate to leave this crime-ridden city. Enter his replacement, Detective Mills. Mills is young, hot-headed, and arrogant enough to think he can actually make a difference. They barely have time to introduce themselves before they get called to their first major crime scene. And guys, it is nasty. An incredibly obese man has been found dead, face down in a bowl of spaghetti. At first, it looks like a sad case of someone eating themselves to death. But Somerset notices something off. The man's hands and feet are bound. The killer literally forced this man to eat at gunpoint until his stomach ruptured. While Mills writes it off as a one-time psycho, Somerset knows better. And his fears are confirmed when they find a word written in grease behind the refrigerator: gluttony. Before they can even process this, crime number 2 drops. A wealthy, high-profile defense attorney is found brutally murdered in his luxury office. Cut into his carpet is the word: greed. Somerset connects the dots. This isn't random. Someone is targeting victims based on the 7 deadly sins. While Mills tries to solve the case using standard police work, Somerset takes a different approach. He heads to the library to study classic literature, Dante's Inferno and Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, trying to get inside the mind of a killer who views himself as a righteous executioner. To break the tension, we get a quick look at Mills' home life. He invites Somerset over for dinner, where we meet his wife, Tracy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow. She's the only ray of sunshine in this entire movie, and honestly, her presence holds whatever sanity these 2 detectives have left together. But the sunshine doesn't last. The killer strikes again. Sin number 3, sloth. The detectives are led to an apartment where they find a drug dealer tied to a bed. He looks like a decomposing corpse, but as the SWAT team gets close, he coughs. He's actually been kept alive on life support by the killer for an entire year. Sin number 4, lust. A horrified man is forced by the killer to use a custom blade-tipped weapon on a sex worker. Sin number 5, pride. A beautiful model has her face horribly disfigured. The killer gives her a choice: call for help and live with the scars, or take a bottle of sleeping pills. She chooses the pills. The detectives realize they are entirely outmatched. So, Somerset pulls an illegal favor. He gets a contact at the FBI to look into library records to see who has been checking out books on the 7 deadly sins. Bingo! They get a name and an address: John Doe. They knock on the apartment door, and a man walking down the hall opens fire on them. A brutal, breathless foot chase begins through the pouring rain. Mills corners the suspect in an alley, but the killer catches him off guard, knocks him down, and holds a gun right to Mills' face. For a second, you think it's over. But the killer inexplicably decides to spare his life, drops the gun, and vanishes into the rain. When they look inside the killer's apartment, it's a horror show. Hundreds of diaries filled with insane, microscopic handwriting and a massive neon cross over his bed. This guy doesn't have a life. His entire existence is this grand puzzle. And then comes the ultimate power move. With 2 sins still left to go, John Doe walks straight into police headquarters covered in blood and calmly screams for Detective Mills. He surrenders, but there's a massive catch. Doe's lawyer delivers an ultimatum. Doe will confess to all the murders and lead the detectives to the final 2 bodies, but only if Somerset and Mills drive him out to a remote desert location alone. If they refuse, he pleads insanity and walks free. Mills, blinded by anger, agrees. This brings us to one of the most tense, iconic final acts in film history. The rain has finally stopped, but the atmosphere is more suffocating than ever. As they wait in the middle of nowhere, a delivery truck appears on the horizon. Somerset walks out to meet the driver, who says he was paid to deliver a package to this exact spot at this exact time. Somerset opens the box. The camera stays on his face as his eyes widen in pure, unadulterated horror. Somerset runs back, shouting, "Mills! Drop the gun! Don't look!" John Doe looks at Mills with a sinister smile and says, "I took a souvenir. Her pretty head." It turns out, John Doe's final two sins were meant for himself and Mills. Doe confesses that he was guilty of envy. He envied Mills' normal, happy life with Tracy. Because of that envy, he went to Mills' apartment and murdered her, along with the unborn baby Mills didn't even know she was carrying. Which leaves the final sin, wrath. Doe's twisted masterpiece is entirely dependent on Mills losing control. If Mills kills him, Mills becomes Wrath, completing the 7 sins and cementing John Doe's legacy forever. Somerset begs him to walk away, to not let the monster win. But the grief and rage are too much. Mills fires, and then fires again. John Doe gets exactly what he wanted. As Mills is driven away in a police car, completely shattered, Somerset delivers one of the most haunting closing lines in cinema, quoting Ernest Hemingway, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." And then Somerset adds, "I agree with the second part."
Make sure to subscribe the channel so you can watch more videos like this.